So, welcome to Breaking Through Your Upper Limit Challenges. I am Penelope Bell. You all know me. You at least met me, seen this, one of those crazy people. I'm going to take a look here. Oh, Sky's call yesterday. Yeah, it's great. I'm so happy you guys are here. So, I'm passionate about helping everyone have the best life possible. All right. I'm passionate about it. I think that we are in extraordinarily challenging conditions. We have systems that are breaking down, a country that is very conflicted. I believe everybody on this call is self-employed, running a business, doing things that you're driving yourself. There's a lot of challenges with that. I'm really into helping entrepreneurs succeed at what they're doing, but also anybody in a leadership position. I do transformational leadership because I know that the best shape that you guys are in, the best you're going to be able to lead. You're going to be able to bring other people. You're going to be able to inspire. You're going to be able to attract support. But there's many, many, many different barriers to us up leveling in a lot of different domains. There may be domains that you're really good at. No, we're all really good at different domains. There may be a domain that you have a little bit in the shadow. Like
Mhm.
that's just working so well, and I'm just gonna
I did also
not.
move from outside of Fayetteville into closer to
Oh,
Raleigh.
there we go. Hopefully Andrew's not talking to us. I was assuming since she got on and was talking in the middle of a sentence that wasn't for us. Oh, so I want to talk about upper limits. I'm going to be sending you guys uh, a handout so you'll get a lot of these notes. But when I'm teaching adults in particular, I want to share this with you. It's about how to learn as an adult. And the acronym is FAST. And what it does is it teaches us how to, let me pull this up, learn in a better way. So I'm going to share the screen. And I'll share this at the beginning of all my classes because I want people to be able to do this in a really effective way. So this is what it is. And this is just how to approach anything, any master class, anything you're doing where you're learning new information. And so the first thing is F. So forget everything. Whoops, excuse me. I didn't want to do that. Forget everything you think you know. Stay curious and in a beginner's mind. Forget everything you ever heard about your lack of intelligence ever. And I mean that. It is like just all of us have negative messages. The third thing to forget is your to-dos. Do your best to leave everything at the door. Let yourself be here. This is actually just a few minutes. It's less than an hour. Everything that you're putting on hold is going to be waiting for you at the end of this. All right. So do your best to not multitask and just let yourselves be here. The A stands for act. This is not a spectator sport. That was the word that I was reaching for a couple of minutes ago. Take notes, do things that are kinesthetic, that are physical whenever possible. Speak out loud, even if you're muted. If I'm asking you to repeat content, use the chat. Taking notes counts. It's like that is a kinesthetic action to help this go into long-term memory because our brains work differently than young people's. Once you've hit your late 20s, you are not in flexible intelligence learning anymore. It's called crystallized intelligence. And there are tricks to getting our brains to actually integrate new information. Your state is really important. And I do a lot of state work with people. It's like your physical state, your emotional, your mental state. It's really important to make sure that you've eaten, that you're not pissed off or completely triggered about something that just happened. You need to self-regulate. If you're feeling really lonely or isolated or tired, your mind isn't able to easily take in new information. So this is like learning light, what we're doing today. But when you really have to dive in and get some chunky information into your brain, you need to really get yourself into the best shape possible to learn. And if you're really too flooded, step away until you get a reset. And then the T is for teaching. The faster you teach another person, the faster they will go in. Yeah. Okay. So that's how I approach adult learning. I'm a geek about getting people to learn. I really, really want things to go well for this information to enter in. So just wanted to introduce that to you. If you want a copy of that, just ping me and I'll let you know. I will be sending you the outline notes from what today is about, how to break through. So one of the things that happens is that people, when they have upper limit challenges, are you guys clear about upper limit challenges? Do you know what I'm talking about with that?
Please explain.
Say
Please
again?
explain. Please
Please explain.
explain.
Okay, all right. But I also want hands for the people that actually do. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think I do, but I'm not sure.
Okay. All right, got it. So what it is that we have an idea about expansion. We're evolving. You know, you've heard evolving. If you're not evolving, you're devolving. Basically, you're just like you're not moving forward. All right, you get stuck, and a lot of times things actually start going badly. Like if physically, like Bill, you talking about being in with a personal trainer, the older we get, our muscle mass goes away. It deteriorates if we're not in action, moving. This is true for many, many, many different things in our lives. And so you can take on an upper limit of, oh, I really want to be strong, flexible, healthy, be able to move. And the older we get, we start getting this cap of, I won't be able to do that anymore. And one of the things that I'm learning with elder adults who are like really pushing their health agenda and saying, I want to be as vibrantly healthy as possible until the day I die. They're finding that there are limits in their head that aren't actually in their body. All right. So one of the upper limit challenges that we have is we get these implants, these ideas. Oh, I'm this age. I need to assume the position, which is, you know, the remote. Or whatever it is. It's like, no, you don't. You don't have to do that. But that's just an example of having a limitation in our mind. So most of the time, the upper limit challenges really are internal. Sometimes it's a condition. Sometimes there's things that it's just like, oh, you have a chronic health condition. You have cardiac disease. I have osteoporosis. This is a reality. I have a condition that I'm in relationship to, but that doesn't need to stop me from having the most effective, expansive, energetic life possible. So I can't say I'm over osteoporosis. I'm going to get the idea that I don't have osteoporosis. Is that a reality? And our brains know it. You know, our brains know it. So no matter how you be like, oh no, I'm just going to like think my way out of this. It's like, that's one of the biggest mistakes people make is that you have there's a mistaken idea that you can just think positively and all good will come. So one of the things about upper limit challenges is that we literally self-sabotage ourselves. We limit ourselves constantly because of experiences in the past or experiences that other people are having. We compare ourselves to other people. You know, Sky and I are in the same kind of industry. We're both very, very different. If we compared ourselves to each other, it's a losing battle. It's just like there's not it's not effective. So we can't just simply think our way into having a more expanded, fulfilled, happier life. It's not possible because we have really strong forces in, you know, we're getting the idea from our frontal cortex and we're like willfully going through it, but we're literally denying the deeper unconscious forces that are pulling us back. And so that's a huge piece of why I wanted to do this today, is to start bringing forward, how do you break through? What are the barriers to doing this? And what are some of the practices you can use on a daily basis to be fulfilling on what your desires are? Because we all have desires that aren't being fulfilled. So our unconscious can create powerful barriers to prosperity and happiness. It just does it. It's like it's never worked before. Why do I think it would work now? I like to use elders a lot because there's this huge, we have a lot of ageism in our culture, and there's a lot of us getting older. One of my clients got married at 78. Absolutely in love, passionate, like, oh, she was so freaking happy. Colonel Sanders didn't start making money until he was 68 because he was bored. Women entrepreneurs tend to make the most money starting at 65 onward. There's a lot of different things that it's just like, you don't have to limit yourself based on conditions. Yeah, there's reality about the conditions, but you don't have to limit yourself. You don't have to stop trying. The real breakthroughs come when you can have a deep understanding that what you're generating is coming from you, from who you authentically are at the core. This is where the breakthroughs actually come from, not from shoulds, not from willfully doing it, bootstrapping. There's a lot of bootstrapping in our culture. You just got to just bootstrap. And it's like, that's exhausting. That has a very short shelf life. We get exhausted. I'm going to check. And breaking through the limiting beliefs is a tricky game. This comes from Est, Landmark. It might have originally come from Scientology, but there is a phrase, be, do, have. That's actually the path. Who we're being. So when I'm talking about from our core, who we are authentically, is who we're being. It's how we're doing it. We're in alignment, we're in integrity. Who we're being. That is one of the being states. Who do I want to be as I'm living my life? I want to be in integrity. I want to be someone that's known to be integrous. That's a being state. And I make a mistake. One of the things I love from Landmark is they said you can recreate integrity every day. So if you blow it, it doesn't mean you're a bad person and you don't have integrity. It means you get to make that decision again today and be in integrity. So that's the beingness that's really important. Out of that comes our actions. If I make a mistake, I clean it up. Okay? It's like right there in the moment. If I can catch it, and if I don't catch it in the moment and I hear from someone that I just really blew it, I am there. I'm going to clean that up as quickly as possible. I'm going to do a recording on how to really make an apology that you guys will get, because there's a 5-point, there's the thing about how do you make an authentic apology that actually sticks, that I learned in my anti-racism work. It's really important. So it's like, if I make a mistake, so I'm still being in integrity, I fucked up, I'm going to do something to recreate that integrity. So I'm back in alignment with who it is I genuinely want to be in life. And then I get to have. And what I have is a whole bunch of relationships with people who trust me because they can count on what I say. And I have other relationships where I got a little too casual and I need to do some repair there, so that they know I'm being, that I get to have that trust again. I get to rebuild it. Is this making sense? Is this good? All right. What we do in our culture is we do to have. We're not paying attention to who we're being in the same way. We're just doing. We are in a very, very, especially most of you are in the real estate sphere. You guys know what it's like in your industry. It's kind of oppressive, man. There's very little, people are not encouraging y'all to take a nap. You're in a New York second mode, it's just like, what kind of shame and humiliation gets run at you for taking a nap? It's like, well, you could have made how many calls? Whatever. It's like, we are in a do have culture. And then we kind of get to be with each other. We kind of get to like, oh, how am I doing this now? So I'm flipping that and really encouraging you guys to take a look at, we'll do some practices on how do you be, do, have. Yeah, they don't allow us to take a nap. Oh yeah, it's like completely, yeah. It's crazy. Their goal is to have us like work ourselves into the ground. It's bottom line, numbers, 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 numbers. How we're doing it is really important. Sky and I were talking about this yesterday. We met after the podcast. It's like how we're doing it is like we're generating like to pick a number. So it's not just in the like the integrity space, but it's like, oh, I want to make $1 million a year. My intent is to be the person who generates $1 million a year. My job as a coach with leaders is to say, doing that 4 days a week. That's my job. You're not working 7 days a week to do that. And you're failing if you're working more than 4 days a week in my universe. You're failing. And got to figure it out. Got to figure it out. Even if it's just 2 days a month where you have nothing in your calendar, and I mean nothing, that's a huge breakthrough. So there's stages to this, okay? And of course, there's conditions with families. There's a lot of different conditions, but so I want to give you the idea. First of all, is this getting clear? Josh, was that a good? Are you good? Okay. So I'm just going to give you this list. You're going to get it emailed to you, but it's like the thing that's missing from a lot of the be do have is people are failing at being able to genuinely get the idea. And like me back in the day, when I was first starting, I was charging $50 an hour a session when I first started mind clearing 20 years ago. I was way undercharging my whole life. And I was asked to do some executive coaching with someone in a very large insurance company. And I called one of my coaching friends and I said, what do I charge? And she said, you need to charge $250 an hour or you're pulling the rest of us down. And I was like, oh. So I was like, all right, how do I do this? How do I do this? I couldn't even get the idea. It was like a slippery bar of soap. All right. So one of the things that I learned how to do through Sheila Campbell, she wrote a book called Zero to Zillionaire, is you walk around walking. Again, there's a physical component to this, saying that you make more money than what it is you're actually asking for. So I took about 5 days and just repeated, I make $300 an hour. I make $300 an hour. I told the fence post. I told my dog. I told the tree. I told, I told friends, I said, I'm working on this mindset. I can't see any eye rolls. I need you to say, yeah, you do. This is what I need. I need this in. I need this in. I make $300 an hour. I make $300 an hour. All this stuff would come up. I can't do that. That's not real. That's pretending. It's just like over and over. There was all this stuff that came up and I just kept drilling it. So when I was finally able to pick up the phone to tell the HR department what I charged, I was like, I make $250 an hour, 2-hour minimum. And I felt at that point that I'd given her a deal because it was $50 less than what I'd been saying. And she didn't even blink. And I went, shit, I undercharged. It was a whole different thing, but that was like, that's just an example of how is it my limiting beliefs. It was like, I couldn't even make the call for 5 days. I was like, I don't even know that they still want me, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't find it in me. So this is a piece of, and then I had to go, oh, I am becoming that one. And that's what I charge an hour now. And it feels low to me. So it's like, that's it. But that's, that's been a journey. At $50 an hour, that was a huge leap. But I made it and was able to sustain it. So getting the idea is really important. I'm going to give you one more example about getting an idea. I am passionate about teaching mind clearing. I want to get the tools that I use to transform people's lives into other coaches' hands. Passionate about it. I've been saying that for 10 years. So I'm going to tell you more a little bit about that when we get into getting the idea, getting the opposite. This is one of the ways to come through. So the first thing is to get the idea, get really clear about what you want. Get really clear, like very concrete about how many days a week you want to work. Get very clear about what your actual income numbers are. If you're single and you want to be happily married or happily partnered, get the idea of attracting a partner where both of you are fulfilled and having fun, and that it's good for both of you. Then you can let go of the lists. It needs to look like this and like this and this. Like, no, I am in a relationship with someone and we are having a blast. We are both fulfilled. We are so happy to be together. This is a mindset. This is an idea. And get really clear about it. You know, mine is $250 a year, 4 days a week, helping hundreds of people. Very clear. Who do I need to be in order to have that happen? I picked 250 because it made me laugh. I'll be very honest with you guys. It's just like I was like, it just like this huge belly laugh came up. And I was like, that's why? Because it makes me laugh, not because it makes me significant, not because it's proving anything to anybody. You know, I'm clear about my needs, but it was also just because it brings me joy. I want you guys to reach for your joy. So many of us, like, I can't have that. It's pleasure activism. Reach for your joy. Notice the things that bring you joy that you want more of, and notice what the self and crosstalk is. So you get the idea and you get really clear. You decide who you're being in that project. I'm being a teacher who provides value every time I open up my mouth, God willing. I want to be that teacher. I want to be someone who brings value to every conversation that I'm in. I want to be that. How you go through this is practicing getting the idea and getting clear. Practice being that integrous teacher. I'm happily married. I'm healthy. I'm rich, whatever it is. I'm going to work on one idea. I'm just throwing out a lot of different ones for you right now. You practice having the actions, like I said, walking around, talking to the trees. I'm serious. It works. Say it out loud. The other thing with neuropsychology, if you speak it out loud, it goes to a different part of your brain. Your subconscious starts clocking it. You can't just think your way out of these situations. You have to do other things to trick that brain that's saying, oh no, there's, that stuff's up. Many of the people that I'm working with, because we're entrepreneurs, are neurodivergent. I was saying this yesterday on the podcast. It's like, we are a management problem. It's one of the reasons why we work for ourselves. Okay. We just don't fit in the box. We're never going to fit in the box. We're a bunch of rebels. No. And it's like, okay, so there's some ways of creating structure for those of us that don't like structure very much. One of them is body doubling. And what body doubling is this is another training I'm going to do on YouTube, is how do you set up a body double where you're co-working? You're working on your Christmas cards. I'm working on my marketing. And there's a formula to it. There's a way of getting together. You trade time for a minute, clear whatever needs to get cleared. So you're present, clear the state, coming back to adult learning. You clear whatever state needs to be cleared, leave it at the door. I'm focusing on this. What are you focusing on? You set timers, you turn the screens off, whatever, and you go. Or you get to do it in person. If you're lucky enough to do it in person, that's great. But doing it on Zoom is really good. The other thing is to collaborate, have somebody else to be accountable to. So that you're not solo functioning. One of the biggest things that keeps us from having our full success lives is we're trying to do it by ourselves. All right. Knock it off. Knock it off. Knock it off. Stop trying to do it all by yourself. It is not a higher value. It's bullshit. It's not. When there's trauma, which there is for most of us, trauma, betrayals, lots of failure. We're all walking around in some PTSD, like, oh, wow, that relationship failed, that business failed, that collaboration failed. We have huge traumas that we're all operating on top of. Huge traumas. People have no idea what's happening in the person in front of them. I mean, I've been privileged enough to be able to do a lot of clearing with people. And almost all y'all are sitting on top of trauma. Every single one of us. Okay. So one of the things that happens with upper limit challenges is because we've been in a state of being victim. There's a kind of low level static that's pulling back. It's not safe to come out. So that's where expert help, like if you can't move some of these forward, to get coaching, get help processing, get counseling, get a clearer, whatever it is that can help you move through some of the bigger chunks that you can't think your way through, that you're operating on top of. Creating healthy boundaries. You really want your big life, man, your big yes. You're going to have to say no to a lot of things. My big yes is health, which means I'm taking that nap. Okay? I will not let an external force ever again tell me what I need to do physically that isn't in alignment with what my body actually needs. It's like, I'm a no. Well, I'm a no. It's just the other thing that keeps people from having their big lives is that frequently y'all have a hard time identifying the value that you're actually bringing to people. Even if you have it intellectually, you haven't really embodied it. It's like, what is the value that your services, your energy, your offerings are bringing to another human being? What's the value that you as a human being are bringing to a relationship? Oh, that if you want to be in a fulfilling relationship, look at all the ways that you're great in relationship. What do you bring? One of my favorite first clearing sessions was with someone who was an architect in the 2008, 2009. Not a lot was happening in that industry. And because there wasn't active income happening, he didn't think he could date. And so we drilled, what's one thing you bring to a relationship? What's another thing you bring to a relationship? Finally, there was like 25 things on the board that we were looking at of everything that he brings into a relationship. And the only thing on the other side, the negative side, was that he wasn't currently working. And I was like, does it really look like you're horrible in relationship? And he's like, I'm going out, man. He was so excited from these, like, I'm doing it. Oh, um, he's bringing a lot of value. He brought a lot of value to relationships. He's very happily married now. And it's just lovely to watch how people do this. We need to clear out and heal the betrayals that have happened. We've all experienced betrayals. We need to become adept at not inserting our past into our future. And we're going to do a process with that here in a minute, but there is so much wisdom that we can get from the failures and breakdowns. And when you start identifying those, then we start inserting the wisdom and the learnings into our present time future versus leading with fear. That happened, therefore I can't. I can't do that. I can't have that action. So, all right, there's so much. We don't have much time. I always have more content than I have time. So I'm just going to read out again. Barriers to the upper limit. This is a repetition, but I want to just like, it's not really being able to get the idea and being clear. That you're not fully embodying the idea, you're not feeling it. There's actually this place of you need to be able to feel in your body the yes. And that's a trick. Sometimes we can have the thought and we're immediately in the emotional part. A lot of times we're not. It took me close to 5 days to be able to internalize and embody I make 250 an hour. It took a few days. You know, we're talking about creating new neural pathways. This takes time. So one of the bigger barriers is we actually don't spend the time to anchor in the idea. We write it once in our journal and that's it. Or it's on a goal sheet. Here's our business plan goal sheet. Another reason why I'm leading this right now is because everybody's doing their next year's planning. And it was like, how you're doing it is going to really transform next year, not what's on that list. Okay. So one of the barriers is not getting the idea, not fully embodying the idea, inserting their past experiences into the presser. We're doing trauma, we're doing betrayals, we're putting our emotions in. It's like, I can't do that. You know, another landmark thing that there was like, y'all won't go across the room and ask somebody for a date. You're so terrified, but you get in a car every day. I was like, you guys are so smart. Yeah, we have all of this stuff up about I can't go ask that person. And what's going to happen? They're going to say no. Oh, they're not going to die. They're not going to die. You're not going to die. You're not going to die. You don't. Yeah. It's like one of the huge barriers is low self-worth. We don't think we deserve it, or we don't think we're able, or we're filled with doubt because we've all failed. Those of us that are long of tooth and gray hair. I mean, everybody in this single room, how many times have we failed? We have failed over and over and over again. And what that does is it creates more and more and more barriers, or else we're operating on top of it and pretending. And so it's really, really important to just keep going, pull up a chair for it, talk to that one. It's just a part of us. So in psychology, it's like there's this parts theory. There's a part of you that feels unworthy. Don't humiliate that one. Pull up a chair. Get curious about it. Because you also have these adult ones that are like friggin' rock stars. You wouldn't even be on the call. You wouldn't be in a position to be in a masterclass right now, honestly. So there's a whole bunch of stuff around dealing with the mindset of low worth, but that's one of the barriers. Scarcity consciousness, if you get it, somebody else will go without. I don't have enough time for that. That's scarcity so it's not just money, it's time, it's resources, emotional resources. I don't have the energy for it. You know, that's like scarcity consciousness. If you don't have the energy for it, you need to take another nap. Sorry. I'm like, I'm into naps as radical activism right now. People feel guilty, especially if you're, you know, growing yourself into another socioeconomic striation in our culture. No, I have a lot of very wealthy clients who feel badly or feel like they have to defend. It's like there's this huge pretense and weirdness around money. And it's okay to make money. It's okay to have big, happy lives. And people will run their shit at you. They'll run their envy. Oh, you don't know. It's like, actually, I do know. Actually, I came from that. And you're not wrong for not having what I have, but I'm not wrong for having what I do. And surrounding ourselves with the people who are in the consciousness conversation, who are also creating very prosperous lives. I know very spiritual, very successful, very connected people who are doing the best they can to make this world a better place. This is my tribe. Okay. Not understanding or trusting the value being provided. Getting distracted and pulled off course. Shiny object syndrome. What are you actually committing to this year? You know, that's the other thing. There will be a piece of the cycle of up leveling that will get very uncomfortable. All right. And frequently when we get into the part of the cycle that's uncomfortable, we start something new, or we go avoidance, or we go, so, right, this is part of this is part of the sabotage. And so that's why accountability, coaching, you know, I love the industry for supporting people and having transformational coaches. How are you? It's like, oh, I just want to remind you, this is what you stated was your intention. How's that going? You know, we have a big avoidant thing. And not holding boundaries or resisting the structure. For those of us that are neurodivergent, holding the structure can be very challenging, but it's like, you know what? I'm going to hold that boundary. I'm going to hold my big yes. And I'm going to put everybody on notice where my no's are right now. Like one of my closest friends became a CFP, and in that journey, she said, she said, I want you to treat me as if I'm spending 2 years in Barcelona. I'm no longer on the continent. I love you dearly. I'll see you on the other side. This is my big yes. Graduate school. Leading to focus in on our families. It's like, I love you dearly. There's going to be a piece of time where I am just here now. My mom went into hospice last year. A lot of no's. You know, zero regrets, but I just put people on notice. I'm not available to you. So, oh, I want to put you guys into a diet. I'm going to put you into a diet. Those of you that don't have your screens on, are you able to participate? Elizabeth and Amy. I see Elizabeth. Great. And I know Amy came late, so I'm gonna. Good. So you guys are all on board. That's good. You're even numbers, which is great. So I'm going to pull up the instructions, and I'm actually going to do a little demo with this. All right, so we're going to do pearls of wisdom. So I'm going to put this in, whoops. I'm going to put this in the chat, and then I'm going to demonstrate this. And you're going to go, so tell me a pearl of wisdom you gleaned from a breakdown or a failure. All right. And I'm going to put that in the chat room now. So we're just going to do it. So I'm going to do this with you, Bill. If you are okay. Unmuting. And if you want, you can give it to me first, but I want to demonstrate a full cycle so that you guys get an idea, because there's no crosstalk. There's no, it's just like, it's pretty formal. So go ahead and read that to me. The first sentence.
Tell me a pearl of wisdom you have gleaned from a breakdown or failure.
I learned when I co-founded the Inner Journey seminars, one of the pearls of wisdom I took from that experience is we had a collapsing of domains. And what that means is we were all owners, students, co-facilitators, and friends. And Jill was there. Jill's and Josh has done this program too. So the co-founders of this, we had so many different roles. One of the pearls of wisdoms I took from that entire experience was where to have clean and healthy boundaries around what's my domain and what is yours. Are we in the role of business partners, or are we friends right now? So one of the huge pearls, and it was a huge breakdown, was PTSD for me. I loved, loved, loved doing that work, and I was invited off the leadership team. It was a huge trauma for me. But one of the greatest pearls of wisdom I took was taking a look at where boundaries need to be around what different roles are being expressed. So. And now you say thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
And all you have to say is thank you. So this is, yeah, okay. And then it's like, tell me a pearl of wisdom you've had from a breakdown or a failure.
I think one of the things that comes to mind is I like to have things in order. I like to plan things ahead, and especially taking teams to other countries and having that all in place. Early on, I didn't want to deviate from that. But one of the things that I learned is some of those spontaneous things that happen are the best things, and to learn to take those and go with them when they come. Not that you deviate far from your list, but those spontaneous things teach you new things that you wouldn't have planned and experienced otherwise.
Thank you. All right. So I'm going to put you, that's the demo. So you guys, that's basically how you do it. Do your best to stay succinct because we don't have time. I really want to do 90 minutes for the next masterclass. So I think I'm just going to make sure that that's so that there's time to practice. But I'm going to put you into breakout rooms and then I will post that. So tell me a pearl of wisdom you have from a breakdown or a failure. All right. And then you just say thank you and you switch over. All right. And I'm going to give you guys like, I don't know, like 7 minutes so that we can do a quick go round. All right. So go ahead and join.